world and talk about some of the opportunities that are available to us in that space. So please welcome Farrar King.
Good morning. I had my music ready. We were going to play musical chairs, and he said that was a liability. Doug was out as well. So anyway, let's get into this. The role of sleep technologists in the home health world. Healthcare is transforming with the shift towards home-based medical services. Sleep medicine leads to evolution, offering new opportunities for sleep technologists to impact patient care. I think we all got afraid years ago when we heard about HSTs coming out. We all worried if it was going to take our jobs. Respironics put out a pretty interesting viewpoint about HST, suggesting we do cardiac monitoring in hospitals and use those patients on discharge to come into our labs. Do any of you guys remember Respironics sort of putting that out there to try to ease our minds? Yeah, so I sort of jumped on that and started trying to think out of the box, because in case that really happened, how do we survive? I think we're going through similar things like that now, another transition in sleep. And at this point, it's kind of changed because now we have a shortage of techs, where back then we had too many techs per se. But I worked in hospital-based labs for 16 years. And then I came out and put my foot in executive sales, marketing, growth development. It sort of gave me an edge being a sleep tech because I was going to talk to sleep techs. So they took me a little bit more seriously than your average scripted salesperson. They knew I walked their walk, talked their talk, knew their struggles. And I was there to try to make their job as easy as possible because I wanted their business. So I began my career that way. And trying to step outside the box. So technology advances, patient preferences, and the cost reduction drive the move from hospitals to home, getting back into HSTs. It aids in patient comfort. It's a growing demand. A lot of insurances are requiring it in the beginning. I think it reaches greater masses in our rural areas, patients that can't necessarily afford to come in our labs. We've all experienced patients who can have their study but yet can't afford their CPAPs because of their copays and deductibles were so great in their lab experience. I see a lot of companies, oftentimes they'll do their initial diagnostic study at home to try to save that finance and then bring them in lab and do a titration. Sometimes I think that's quite a bit more responsible than just slapping them on an auto PAP, especially if they have elevated numbers and things look indicative of possible more comorbidities. But it's kind of the trend that's coming. Who are sleep technologists? We are essential healthcare professionals. We are specialized in treating sleep disorders through advanced monitoring and analysis. And I don't think that there's any machine at this point. I mean, we all know AI is coming, but at this point, there's nobody that can do it quite like us. But we are getting to that technology with data interpretation. Some of the HSTs are already being auto-scored through AI. It does have a great deal of accuracy, better than our traditional auto-scoring in labs. And none of us have really been a fan of auto-scoring. It's fairly inaccurate. But AI's doing a pretty good job. But we do have to stay updated on the latest developments in sleep medicine and home-based diagnostic tools. We have to keep learning, we have to keep challenging, otherwise we become complacent, we start hating our jobs, we hate going to work at night, and it starts to roll home. It's hard enough to have families be gone at night. There are a lot of schools out there. Colleges now are offering one-year programs. When I started sleep, I'm sure when a lot of you old schools started sleep, we didn't have a lot of schools. There weren't a lot of places you could get education. You kind of had OJT, you showed up to work and looked at squiggly lines, figured out how to do a hookup, and they set you free, you read books. But there's a lot of programs now, a lot of more professional certifications now, a lot of different levels to what you can do and how you can expand upon and kind of develop yourself in other areas. We always have had our PSGT, but like I said, there's a lot of more things to go along with this to help build your resume. And here's one, advanced sleep coaching. This is a fairly new clinical credential over the last several years. And I think it's very necessary. It goes into the coaching, whereas years ago, it seemed like the DME companies gave them their machine and told them to have a nice life. They didn't know how to clean it. They didn't know they needed supplies. We've all seen masks, duct tape, hot glue, JB Weld, we've seen staples, and they just said they didn't know. And we all know CPAP therapy is still the preferred choice. It just still does the job. There's so much more going on now, but we all believe in CPAP. And we all know the CPAP setup process, equipment selection, programming the machine, fitting the mask. And I will say that a speaker yesterday said there's much more. I believe it was our ResMed speaker. She said, do more on your mask fitting than just saying, I'm a tech, I'm here to get a pressure. Here's your mask, good luck. It is important that you guys do a good job fitting a mask and make sure you're desensitizing that patient. She was very spot on with that, because once we get a hold of them in DME, if we know that they have been observed on a certain mask, they've been desensitized on that mask, then we have a starting point instead of just walking to a shelf and then pointing at something because of the way it looks. We know that they had oral breathing and, they may need a full face mask or whatever, but if that's not notated, it kind of just gives us a blind search. Because so many people that set up CPAPs are not sleep techs. And this goes back into what I was saying earlier. We tend to follow patients a little bit better now. We're required to. She also said yesterday how important it was. I know she ruffled feathers when she said that sleep tech should be a little more responsible in the evenings for calling certain patients and setting up situations where you had so many who call per night. And, I could see there could be a process for that, but we also know it's kind of tough because we're getting there and trying to get ready, praying they show up, calling people if they don't show up, getting things set up. That can be tough, but I could see that there could be a system put in place where that could be feasible and help with adherence. Ongoing support, the follow-up visits are very important. In the labs that I work in and I consult in, we typically see a patient 2 weeks after they've been set up. If they're a long-term CPAP wearer and they come in and they're just fine, we don't need to see them like that. But we will see them, especially our Medicare patients, within about a month and a half. If they're doing good, we'll see them again at the 90 days. And then we'll kind of follow them from there. Our commercial patients, we'll see them more frequently, especially if they're new 2 weeks, and a month. And then we'll see them again in 6 months, because at that 6 month point, we can resupply them. So they get a good 6 month visit. They're not waiting a year. They're not getting lost. They're not saying, oh, I didn't know I had to come back and get new prescriptions. We try to build that relationship. It's good for them. And it's also good for business. You have to think about it all, keeping that relationship. It also helps with patient adherence, so they don't become complacent and forget what they're supposed to be doing. We learned that people, within 5 years, stopped wearing their CPAPs. So it's important that we do keep that relationship with them and that they understand their therapy and benefits, as explained, what can happen if they don't wear it, what does it help. The best thing that I can tell people of our older age is that it helps your metabolism. It gives you energy. It helps your blood pressure. It helps diabetes. And some of them get quite excited to think about possibly weight loss or decreasing some of their medications. So there you have to find just kind of what motivates your patient and encourages them to keep them going with it. Patients have higher adherence rates, leading to better health conditions with quality of life. It gives referral sources positive patient experiences, increasing referrals, and just makes the bridge of business between DME and sleep kind of a better environment. I know oftentimes it seems like we're on separate islands. It's kind of like the DME company against the sleep lab, but it's not how it really should be. We should all be on the same team. We shouldn't say, oh, the sleep lab didn't give me your order and your studies, I'm sorry. No, we got the study and the order, we used that for an excuse and we forgot to call you. And vice versa. Yeah, you called us, but your sleep lab hasn't sent it to us. We should never throw each other under the bus. We should be together, a unified team, so they know that we have relationships talking back and forth to each other, and there is more accountability. We do have to stay current, but we all are here, so we're keeping current on learning and new technology that's coming. And I do encourage you to see what technology is coming, see what your future holds. You know, us older people, we won't be here when a lot of these things happen, but you younger people, you should really see what's coming and learn how to develop your careers. For when things do change, you'll basically be able to stay alive in the field. There are professional benefits. I think for me, being on both sides of that, it has gained me a lot of trust with patients because I've worked so many different angles of the business. I've been sort of called a unicorn in my field because of every kind of spot I've worked. I mean, I started out in a DME company answering the phones. So I sort of started at the bottom in the 90s and have just worked through everything. And honestly, it's because I get bored. So I have to keep it moving. CPAPs, some state regulations prohibit CPAP setups by anyone other than a licensed respiratory therapist. That is true. I remember when I started at Apria, I came in as a sales executive and I quickly promoted to a GM. And I had a little man I watched come in one day, and I had an RT that worked for me. And it took him 30 minutes, bless his heart, to get his little rollator out, get up on the sidewalk and get in there. And he needed help with his mask. He had it every way upside down. Apria didn't allow anyone but a respiratory therapist to service a patient. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I've been a tech for 20-something years. I've seen over 200,000 patients. God knows how many I've titrated. How many machines have I set up over the years, and I can't touch them to do a mask fit? And so I called upper management and I said, I'm not letting him go. It took him 30 minutes to get in the door. How long did it take him to drive here? He just needs someone to fit his mask. I bet you can't guess what they told me. They told me I can help him, but I can't touch him. So we had to sit there. Bless his heart. We worked through it. I couldn't touch him. I kept raising stink. I'm not quite sure they knew what to do with the sleep tech. They just didn't have, there was one more of us in the company that was in South Florida. And I just kept on. Well, something came about then where we could sign off with one of the respiratory therapist trainers. And then guess what? I could set up CPAPs, but I couldn't set up bilevels. So I would program them. I'd pass them to my RT. She would touch it. She would pass it back to me. We set up bilevels. Got to follow the rules. Operational leadership. Sleep technologists can always advance into operational leadership roles in DME companies and sleep clinics. It does require clinical expertise and management skills. There are a lot of classes online you can take that develop leadership skills and dealing with staffing issues, HR issues, those types of things. It's always good to know those things because it does help you move around in your career. As general manager, for me, it's daily operations. I do have to manage budgets and P&Ls to a very high level. We do run our branches basically as our own personal business with a great back office and great financial support. But our bottom line comes down on us. We manage every aspect of it. Operations, staff, payroll, quality, ordering. I have to make sure the van gets the oil change. I have to make sure every license on the wall is current. All the millions of sign-off sheets, that we have to keep for Joint Commission or whoever you're accredited through. Also have to get every patient that complains, every problem there ever was, just like sleep lab directors, y'all hear every problem there ever was. And I bet most of them are about your DME companies. But there are leadership benefits. It has helped me tremendously as a leader to know, kind of make a mark. And, you always want to feel like you're making a difference, like you're helping people. We do this because we're healthcare workers and we care. So I feel like I do have a great insight to what I do just because of the roles I've walked through in scenarios and situations. There's only so much we can read in a book. You kind of have to walk through life and have those types of patients. When I've taught techs in the past, I'm like, I can teach you what's in the book. I can teach you what the squiggly lines do. But it's going to take 3 to 4 to 5 years for you to experience scenarios to really know. I remember someone telling me in my early years, CPAP, especially bi-level, sort of like black magic. Well, that wasn't true. Yes and no. There are patients that you have to try things with, and that's kind of black magic. But there's actual ways you titrate a BiPAP. And it's amazing the people that don't know. So I think when you're a leader, when you're a trainer, it's important to teach people the right way. It's a responsibility if you're going to do that. There are lots of sales opportunities for sleep techs. We talk to people. In the best way I can say this, we learn how to positively manipulate people. To be a good sales rep, you have to be a master manipulator. Well, all you guys are master manipulators because you lay a patient down, put 100 wires on them, and smother them. So you learn how to gain trust very quickly, which aids in being a sales rep. And just the same thing I said earlier, when you walk into a lab and you are a sleep tech, they take you seriously because you know their pain, you know the rights and the wrongs. So, as being an entry-level sales role, you get started, you build relationships, then you can grow. You can grow into being a market sales trainer. You can grow into managing large sales teams. You can work towards being a GM. I don't recommend it. There is a high turnover rate in sales. You do have to make your mark, but when you can make your mark and you build the relationships in your town, you can have a long-lasting career and do great. I do so well in Birmingham because I've worked with all these people professionally in labs. We have Thanksgiving and Christmases together, and I don't care what new kid they hire, they can't get my business. So once you build those relationships, you can be quite successful in what you do. And if you do bring someone in, and I brought a sales rep in under me, and I trained him, and I walked through the doors with him, and they knew, oh, that's Farrar's guy. If he doesn't get it, we'll call her. So I had to break a lot of people from calling me first. Like, I hired someone because I can't take every one of your calls. But he did a great job. He jumped when I snapped because I'm sort of a snappy person. But he did a great job, and you guys could as well. It's really not that hard once you build relationships. I don't know if y'all care so much about the impact on stakeholders. Healthcare transformation summary: the shift towards home-based medical service transformed healthcare, particularly in sleep medicine, with sleep technologists playing a pivotal role in this transition. Technology innovation impact: home diagnosis. Patient receives sleep disorder diagnosis from comfort through advanced technology. It improves outcome, better patient adherence, and health outcomes through professional expertise. CPAP implementation. Successful OSA therapy through expert setup and education and ongoing support. And then here's your career advancement opportunities that you could step through from being a sleep tech and coming in as an entry-level position and moving along through your journey. We all know our professional credential value. We all are patient care focused. Industry growth drivers. It starts with the receptionist of the sleep lab that schedules that appointment. Someone also said yesterday there should be one-on-ones, there should be two-on-ones, there should be three-on-ones. I think our biggest struggle with all of this has been scheduling at times. Your front desk person, if they're not a sleep tech and their secretary, they have no idea. They're not reading H&Ps, they're not reading particularly what orders are, they're not looking at height and weights, they're not looking at comorbidities, so you might get stuck with 3 600-pound people with obesity, hypoventilation, and central apnea. That's always difficult. So there's another reason why sleep tech should be more involved outside of just running studies. In the future of sleep technology's expertise remains vital to home-based medical services success and patient care improvement as the healthcare industry continues evolving. So I do just encourage all of you to look what's outside, look what's coming. I said it earlier, you better look at AI. AI is coming hard and heavy. There's several companies out there now. There's a coaching platform out there now where they can text and speak to AI. I've played with her. I've asked her tricky questions. She's smart. My local area, the old school sales reps who have moved up, they like to send the fresh meat to me per se because I'm going to ask for crazy questions. I had a guy come in and I asked him, how much does your concentrator weigh? What is a liter flow in your concentrator? He looked at me and he came back and he gave me answers. I said, okay, these are things you need to know. And I asked him, why are the little holes on that mask? Why don't we tell patients to tape that up? I don't know. So, we need them to blow off. We don't need them to retain. So, these are reasons why we're all so important. And there's only so much AI can replace us with, but AI is good. So just look at think outside the box, especially young people and us old folks. We've got to try to support them and guide them because we need them to stay in the field. We also need to try to reach out and recruit people in the field. In Alabama, we have huge shortages. I watched people yesterday walking around sneaking papers on tables to hire techs. So I see y'all have the same issues in the Carolinas, and I have lots of friends in other states who are suffering. I've got friends who know I haven't. Well, I did go back and run studies through COVID because sales changed, as you all know. But they want me to drive to Mississippi and run studies. I'm like, you can't afford me on a weekend. But just stay with it, recruit people, encourage people, and keep us alive and keep building us. And I appreciate y'all.
Mike, any questions up here? I think I just heard amen. All right. We're going to take a break. Everybody's